For the past 3 decades, on every major interstate paving project from Phoenix to Atlanta, on every Autobahn rebuild from Hamburg to Stuttgart, on every motorway upgrade across France and the Netherlands, one company has put down more high-specification asphalt than any other manufacturer on the planet. The company is Joseph Vogele AG, founded in 1836 in Mannheim, Germany. The paver is the Vogele Super 2100-3i, and the bigger brother above it, the Vogele Super 3000-3i, which lays a finished mat up to 18 meters wide in a single pass. Roughly 6 in every 10 high-specification asphalt pavers in operation around the world today carry the Vogele logo. Caterpillar makes pavers too. The Caterpillar Paving Products operation runs out of a facility in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, built on the legacy of an old Illinois company called Barber Green that Caterpillar bought in 1991. The Caterpillar AP1055F is the flagship of that operation. The paving width caps at roughly 7.8 meters. Caterpillar is still in the segment. Caterpillar is not winning the segment, but the story of how Caterpillar lost the global paver market did not start with one operator choosing one machine over another. It started in a boardroom. In June 2017, John Deere announced that it would pay 4.6 billion euros for the entire Wirtgen Group, the German conglomerate that owns Vogele. The deal closed in December that year. It was the largest acquisition in John Deere corporate history. Caterpillar had every opportunity to make a competing bid. Caterpillar did not. If you have laid asphalt or supervised paving crews for the last 20 years, and you have watched the European Yellow take segment after segment from Caterpillar, subscribe. The channel works through one machine class, one corporate decision, one European factory at a time. The list is long. Today, the paver. Let's start with what the machine actually does. A Vogele Super 2100-3i operating with full extensions can pave a continuous mat 13 meters wide. That is roughly 43 feet. The bigger Super 3000-3i can stretch to 18 meters, which clears a 6-lane Autobahn carriageway in a single pass. The screed system, called the AB600 or the AB500 series, depending on configuration, is the part the audience already knows about. The screed is hydraulically extended, electronically heated, and tuned for mat density that the paving crew can verify with a depth gauge inside the first 10 minutes of operation. A Caterpillar AP1055F maxes out at roughly 25 feet, or 7.8 meters. That is a real number, and the gap between 7.8 meters and 18 meters is the part the dealer's slide deck does not show you. On a 6-lane interstate widening, a Vogele Super 3000 finishes in one continuous pass what a Caterpillar AP series machine needs 2 passes to complete, with a cold joint down the center line that any State Department of Transportation inspector will eventually flag. That gap on paving width is not a manufacturing limitation that Caterpillar engineers cannot solve. It is a market positioning choice. Caterpillar Paving Products operates from one principal facility, the Brooklyn Park, Minnesota plant. Wirtgen Group operates Vogele out of a Mannheim facility that has been producing asphalt finishers for almost a century. The Mannheim plant is built around large paving width capability as the design center. Brooklyn Park is built around volume production of mid-width machines for the American highway market. 2 different design philosophies, 2 different operational outcomes, 2 different price points on the auction sheet. Walk through the operator station on a Super 2100, and you find a control desk that European paving foremen learn in 2 shifts. Screed setting, mixed temperature feedback, paving speed, conveyor tunnel speed, all in one ergonomic position. Walk through the operator station on a Caterpillar AP1055F, and the layout is solid, durable, and recognizably built for an operator who learned on the Barber Green machines that predated the Caterpillar acquisition. Solid is not the same as competitive in 2026. Then there is the material handling. The Vogele tunnel conveyor design moves hot mix through the machine with minimum thermal segregation. Anyone who has read a State Department of Transportation paving spec knows that thermal segregation is the failure mode that kills mat density and pulls back warranty money on the contractor. The European screed and conveyor combination is the technical reason European pavers win competitive bids on Autobahn projects, French A-road projects, Dutch motorway projects, and increasingly on Tier 1 American interstate widenings, where the specification has been tightened by the federal infrastructure program. The Vogela engineering team has been refining mat density management for over 30 years. Caterpillar Paving Products has been refining the Barber Green chassis since the early 90s. The first is a continuous engineering culture. The second is a maintained legacy. Step back from one paver and look at the full system. Vogela is one of 5 operating brands inside the Wirtgen Group. Wirtgen itself builds the cold milling machines that prepare the road surface before the paver arrives. Ham builds the compaction rollers that finish the mat after the paver leaves. Kleemann builds the aggregate crushers and screening plants that produce the stone that goes into the asphalt mix. Benninghoven builds the asphalt plants that heat and combine the aggregate, binder, and bitumen into the mix that arrives at the paving site in dump trucks. Buy one Wirtgen Group machine, and you buy access to a fully integrated road construction system that talks to itself through one parts catalog, one dealer network, one diagnostic protocol, and one corporate parent. Caterpillar Paving Products does not have that vertical stack. Caterpillar sells the paver. Caterpillar sells some compaction rollers. Caterpillar does not own the cold milling, the crusher, or the asphalt plant in any meaningful way. The State Department of Transportation engineer ordering a paving project from a contractor in 2026 is no longer buying just a paver. He is buying a system. In June 2017, John Deere figured out that the system was the asset. Caterpillar did not. Here's what actually happened in 2017. The Wirtgen family had been running the group out of the Westerwald region of Germany since the 1960s. The founder, Reinhard Wirtgen, built the company on cold milling technology, then expanded through acquisition. Vogela came in 2002. Ham came in 1999, Kleemann in 2006-99, Kleemann in 2006, Benninghoven in 2014. By the middle of the 2010s, the Wirtgen Group was the unquestioned global leader in the full road construction stack, privately held, family-controlled, with a balance sheet that could either continue building or sell. The family decided to sell. In June 2017, John Deere announced an agreement to acquire the entire Wirtgen Group for 4.6 billion euros, which at the time was roughly $5.2 billion. The deal closed on December 1st, 2017. It was the largest acquisition in John Deere corporate history, larger than anything Deere had done in agricultural equipment, larger than anything Deere had done in turf, larger than anything Deere had done in forestry. Caterpillar had the opportunity to bid. Caterpillar had been buying paving companies since 1991. Caterpillar had the cash. Caterpillar had the global dealer network. Caterpillar had every strategic reason to keep John Deere out of the road construction segment and to consolidate the European paving stack under Caterpillar Paving Products. Caterpillar passed. Why Caterpillar passed is the part the audience that has run a paver or supervised a road crew already understands. Caterpillar in 2017 had moved corporate headquarters from Peoria, Illinois to Chicago, Illinois. Within 18 months, Caterpillar would announce a second move from Chicago to Irving, Texas. The corporate culture that built the D9 bulldozer in central Illinois was no longer the corporate culture making capital allocation decisions about the asphalt paver segment. A 20-year former Caterpillar employee, in a comment on this channel a few months back, put it this way: "The root cause is Harvard Business, teaching senior business people that return on assets and return on sales is the goal." The movement of the headquarters from Peoria to Chicago to Irving, Texas, shows an executive team further removed from the German Central Illinois farm culture that led to reliable, repairable, locally supported machines. A 4.6 billion euro acquisition of a European industrial group does not look attractive on a return on assets spreadsheet. The Wirtgen Group at the time was generating roughly 3 billion euros a year in revenue with healthy margins, but the goodwill on the balance sheet would have suppressed Caterpillar's reported return numbers for several years. John Deere was willing to absorb that suppression. Caterpillar was not. That is the corporate decision. Not a missed engineering opportunity, not a failure to compete on horsepower or paving width. a decision made by a finance team about a balance sheet ratio. If you run a paver or a screed yourself, the operator tier at $5.99 gets you early access to videos like this one. Subscribe, and the next 20 European versus American segment breakdowns come straight to your feed. Link in the description. Now back to the boardroom. The consequence of the 2017 decision has compounded across nearly 9 years. John Deere folded the Wirtgen Group into its construction equipment segment as a standalone business unit. John Deere did not strip Wirtgen of the European Mittelstand identity. John Deere kept the Mannheim-Vogele plant, kept the Windhagen-Wirtgen plant, kept the Tirschenreuth-Hamm plant, kept the Göppingen-Kleemann plant, kept the Wittlich-Benninghoven plant. John Deere expanded the European service network, expanded the parts inventory, and ran the Wirtgen Group as a Wirtgen Group. Meanwhile, Caterpillar Paving Products continued operating from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, refining the AP series, refining the BG series compaction rollers, releasing variants of the same chassis the company had been building since the Barber Green acquisition. Solid machines. No serious response to the Wirtgen Group consolidation. Look at the Bauma trade show in Munich, the global heavy equipment industry event held every 2 years in odd years. Bauma 2019, the first Bauma after the Wirtgen acquisition closed, Vogele showed the Super 3000-3i at full 18-meter extension in the outdoor demonstration area. The Caterpillar booth showed the AP1055F. 2021 Bauma was postponed, then held in 2022 with reduced attendance. Bauma 2025 returned to full scale, and the Wirtgen Group exhibit footprint was roughly 4 times the Caterpillar Paving Products footprint by total square meters of demonstration ground. A trade show footprint is not engineering. A trade show footprint is corporate priority made visible. The Wirtgen Group is the priority. The Wirtgen Group spends like it is the priority. John Deere lets the Wirtgen Group act like the priority. Caterpillar Paving Products competes for floor space inside the larger Caterpillar booth. That is what happens when one corporate parent treats a segment as a strategic asset and another corporate parent treats the same segment as a product line. Now let's go back to where this started. Mannheim, 1836. Joseph Vogele opened a small mechanical workshop in Mannheim, a city on the Rhine in southwestern Germany, in a year when most of the United States was still rural farming country. The workshop made railroad track equipment for the early German rail network. By the late 1800s, Vogele had built a reputation across Central Europe for precision mechanical work on heavy infrastructure. In 1926, Joseph Vogele AG built the first mechanized asphalt finisher, a machine that could lay a continuous asphalt mat at a controlled depth, replacing hand labor with mechanical precision. That single invention is the start of the modern paver industry. Every paver, built by every manufacturer on Earth, descends from that 1926 Vogele design. Caterpillar's pavers descend from that design. Volvo's pavers descend from that design. Dynapac, Bomag, every Chinese manufacturer trying to enter the segment, all descend from that design. For another 76 years, Vogele remained family-controlled, building pavers in Mannheim, refining the screed, the conveyor, the chassis. By the time the family sold to the Wirtgen Group in 2002, Vogele was the global benchmark for high-specification asphalt paving. Wirtgen Group did not acquire a company that needed turning around. Wirtgen Group acquired the technical anchor of the entire road construction industry. This is the part that separates European Mittelstand engineering culture from American shareholder-driven corporate culture. The Vogele plant in Mannheim has been doing one thing for almost 100 years. Caterpillar Paving Products in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota has been doing one thing for 34 years, since the Barber Green acquisition closed. 100 years of compounding engineering refinement is not a thing a finance team can reproduce by hiring a few veteran paver designers away from Mannheim. Some balance is worth stating clearly. Caterpillar remains the global #1 manufacturer of heavy construction equipment overall, with roughly 3 times the market share of Volvo construction equipment when measured across all product segments. In bulldozers, in large mining trucks, in motor graders, in articulated dump trucks, Caterpillar still holds dominant positions in many markets. The argument here is not that Caterpillar is finished. The argument is that in the asphalt paving segment specifically, in the segment that Joseph Vogele invented and Wirtgen Group consolidated, the segment that John Deere bought for 4.6 billion euros in 2017, Caterpillar holds a distant second position and has not made any move that suggests the position is going to improve. Look ahead 5 years to 2030. By 2030, the Federal Infrastructure Investment Program in the United States will have moved through its full deployment cycle. State departments of transportation will have completed the largest pavement rehabilitation programs since the original interstate construction in the 1950s and 60s. The contractor companies bidding those projects will continue specifying Vogele Super 2100 and Super 3000 pavers because the paving width and the screed control are what wins the contract on a state DOT bid sheet. The Caterpillar AP series will continue to operate on smaller secondary road projects, county roads, local rehabilitation work. The Wirtgen Group share of the global high-specification paver segment in 2030 will likely be higher than the roughly 60% it holds today. Caterpillar paving products share will likely be lower than the roughly 15% it holds today. The gap is not closing, the gap is widening. Here is what the Caterpillar dealer will not tell you. The Wirtgen Group has the paving width. The Wirtgen Group has the screed control. The Wirtgen Group has the global service network that Caterpillar spent 30 years building on the road segment and then handed to John Deere without a fight. The Wirtgen Group has Mannheim. Caterpillar has Brooklyn Park. The auction prices on a 5-year-old Vogele Super 2100 versus a 5-year-old Caterpillar A P1055F already tell you which machine the contractor world thinks is worth keeping. So tell me in the comments what paver you would buy with your own money on a job you are personally responsible for. Vogele Super 2100-3i, Caterpillar A P1055F. The auction prices already know the answer. And if you are wondering whether Caterpillar can come back to dominance in the asphalt paving segment over the next 5 years, the answer is in the next quarterly report John Deere files. Watch what the Wirtgen Group segment grows. Watch what Caterpillar Paving Products does not announce. The next paver Caterpillar builds will compete on price, not on paving width, not on screed control, not on system integration, on price. That is the segment Caterpillar still does not understand. Mannheim has been building asphalt finishers for 99 years. The 100th anniversary is next year. The auction sheet, the trade show footprint, the John Deere quarterly report, and the next interstate widening contract all already know how that anniversary year is going to look. The European yellow paver is the road. The Caterpillar yellow paver is a memory of a road.